Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Reports coming out on the advancement of Britain's population, the massive growth that it is likely to find should immigration not really be controlled. If we have an open border policy that some people think we should, then Britain's population will click over 80 million by 2046. Now, that is unsustainable. We don't have the facilities to accommodate that number of people in such a short period of time. We don't have the schools, the houses, we don't have the infrastructure. We certainly at the moment don't have the job capability to absorb all this. So we need to definitely control immigration. We do need immigration. Without a doubt, this country is absolutely dependent on immigration. Make no bones about it. But we must have limited immigration. We must have sustainable immigration. Set number of people. We cannot open the doors and let everyone in because it will just collapse the system. Now, of course, in years to come, and probably from before 2046, we will see the effects of a major catastrophe, a population crash. Because what's happening is there is ever increasing number of old people and an ever decreasing number of young people to fulfill the gap. As a brief sort of introductions to Economics 101, during the Second World War, the population of the world fell because obviously a lot of soldiers were dying, but also a lot of soldiers were away fighting. They weren't at home having babies. And so for about that 5-6 year period, the number of new babies being born fell. And then the soldiers came home and there was a big baby boom. This is where we get the term the boomers. They were the children of the baby boom. And of course, when they hit their 15, 16 years of age, it was the middle of the 60s. And of course, everything went up. There was a massive boom then because all these people, many millions more people, entered the job market, were earning money, were spending money. The economy boomed under the boomers. And it is no surprise that come 2008, when the world recession hit, that this happened then. Because it was about this time in 2008 when those boomers, so many, the biggest cohort in history, started retiring. And of course, what propped up the system then was the Gen Xers like myself. We were the generation that came after the boomers. We weren't as numerous. There weren't as many of us. There were still a lot of us, but there weren't as many of us. But we were the highest paid in history, and therefore we were paying a lot of tax, and we propped up that system with tax. Then comes the generation after this, the millennials. There's fewer of them, even fewer of them. And so they are there. They've got to prop up this whole thing, but they don't earn on average as much as Gen Xers. And so their tax take is less. So they're having to work harder and harder to earn more money, which is getting, taxed or whatever. That tax money then has to prop up everyone above them. And we're coming to the age now where the Gen Xers, my age, are starting to retire. So the biggest earners of history are going to start retiring. It does mean that the millennials will be the biggest inheritors in history. More money will be passed down to the millennials than any other generation in history. And if you're one of those millennials who's going to benefit from that, then well done you. If you're not, you're in deep trouble. Because your kids are then, fewer of them, they have to prop up an ever-increasing number. It's not that more and more people, or fewer people are being born. Fewer people are being born, but the main problem is the old people aren't dying. They're living longer and longer. They're having extended pensions. And so you have to have more children to prop up and pay for the economy now that the big consumers are dropping off at the top end and going into retirement. Because when you retire, you don't consume, you don't add to the economy. There's only two ways to bring this number up. You either breed and have many more children, or you have immigration. And so without doubt, this country needs immigration because we're just not having enough children. No one is arguing that point. However, the argument is open door immigration or controlled immigration. If we have open door, we cannot sustain this country. There's nowhere to put these people. There's no jobs for these people. There's no economy that can sustain these people. The people who are working will just see their taxes rise in order to pay for the incomers that aren't working. That will lead to rebellion. It will really, lead to social breakdown. Social cohesion will fall apart. It is very, very damaging for any nation. And of course, you only have to look at the likes of Ireland to see what happens there with rampant open door immigration. The entire Irish culture is falling apart. But we do need immigration. So how do we do it? Well, we do controlled immigration. We say we need these kind of people, and we tell them we need doctors, nurses, educators. We need tradesmen. We whatever it is. You have your list of trades, and if you can meet that, you're welcomed in. If you're under a certain age, you're welcomed in. We don't want to be bringing people in on stretchers to go straight into hospitals. Madness. But that's what's happening. And it's any wonder our hospital system is falling apart. Is it any wonder there aren't anywhere near enough houses in this country? If it remains unchecked, and it does get to 80 million in the next 23 years, by 2046, we will need to build maybe 10 cities the size of Birmingham just to house the immigrants coming to this country. It is unsustainable. We don't have the grid structure for energy supply. We don't have the water capability to water these people. We haven't got the gas supply. There are so many different problems. And you get the likes of the Labour Party saying, oh, we want open door immigration. You got the likes of the Tory Party saying, oh, we must have controlled immigration, but they're doing nothing about it. You've got the Greens who say, meh, we don't know what we're talking about. No party, no mainstream party is standing up to this particular issue. But the population time bomb is a genuine thing. It's going to start hitting countries already. In fact, it's already hitting countries, but it's going to start hitting countries hard very soon. Japan, it's already hit Japan. South Korea is 2 or 3 years away from a population collapse. It is that soon. They are the outliers. They're the first ones to go. And when everyone else watches what happens to them, they'll realise how serious this problem is. And they'll all go, we want immigration. We want immigration because we need young people. And it is young people only. We cannot bring in old people. I would suggest no one over the age of 30 would be allowed in, unless they have got very specific experience and skills. But generally, no one under 30 should be allowed in, because we cannot sustain an ever-increasing and ever-growing retired community on an ever-decreasing working population. And it is as simple as that. So the world population is going to crash. I think there's only 6 countries in the world where the birth rate is above replacement levels, put it that way. But in South Korea, 2.1 is the replacement level. South Korea's birth rate is 0.5. That is to say, half a child per woman per lifetime. That means only 1 in 2 South Korean women will have a baby, and they'll only have 1 baby on average. That's the ones that breed. Half of the women don't have a baby at all, and the ones that do will only have 1 baby on average. And so this tiny child population will be growing up into an ever-increasing old person's population, and they will be the ones having to pay for all this care. It isn't going to work. And this problem has been around for maybe 10 years that they've noticed, the demographic time bomb. But who is going to suffer? After Japan and after South Korea, who's next? Well, there's one very big economy that is in a dangerous position, and that is China. China will be the big one to topple over. America, funnily enough, won't. But, China will. It's undoubted. It's already past the tipping point. In fact, for the planet, we've already reached peak child. The number of children on the planet has peaked, and it is now on a downwards trajectory. So it's a problem that will happen. It's unavoidable now. You're racing towards a car crash, and there is no brakes on that car. You're going to hit the wall, and we are going to hit it. But it can be sustained with sustainable, controlled immigration, and we must have it, or we're finished. It's as simple as that. So this is why you have to have immigration. But they're looking at these levels with an open door policy of hitting 80 million in Britain. And that is completely unsustainable. And you ask any party at all, it doesn't matter what hue the party are, blue, red, yellow, green, it does not matter. None of them have got a solution. You'd think, given that we are talking merely one generation away, that they might have some idea of what they are going to do, but I don't suspect they do. Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting thing that people need to be aware of. This population collapse is on its way. It is going to happen. Indeed, it's already happening. So just be aware. It's really going to hit, within one generation around the world. Britain, the West, we're going to be okay for maybe 2, possibly 3 generations at most. Certainly I'm going to be okay. I'll be long carked it by the time it hits in the West. But it will hit. So it'll be the youngsters today, children being born today, anyone who's under 10 today is going to go into a world that is massively different from any that has gone before. Thank you very much for listening. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. Definitely leave a like. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and if you're still able, make babies. Goodbye.